Knock at the Cabin is a brand new movie from M. Night Shyamalan. Is it any good? Well, let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe down below if you would like to. But like I already said, we're here today to talk about M. Night Shyamalan's brand new movie, Knock at the Cabin. Movie where somebody knocks at a cabin. Now, right from the first viewing of the trailer, I was hooked for this movie. The trailer had a fantastic premise. The performances you could see in the trailer had a good intensity to them. And it looked like, overall, it was going to be a very interesting little movie. It surely couldn't be worse than M. Night Shyamalan's last movie, Old, in my opinion. And the movie runtime is only an hour and a half long, so even there's another bonus point. It wasn't going to take up too much of my day and it was going to whiz by. It was going to be a very entertaining movie. So let's jump into the performances first, because obviously the standout performer in this one is Dave Bautista. He's been in many films down the years now. He's not just a wrestler anymore, hasn't been a wrestler for a long time. He's very much established himself as a very good actor. Some wrestlers have jumped into acting at some points, Hulk Hogan in particular, and they haven't been very good at it. But Dave Bautista has fully committed himself to it, and now he's popping up in some of the biggest franchises ever. Blade Runner 2049, June, obviously the MCU, now M. Night Shyamalan movies. He was in James Bond as well at some point. But now he's really established himself as a proper lead man, and his intensity in this one is fantastic. His performance overall is phenomenal, and he does leave you at times questioning whether he's really doing what he's saying or whether he's just a nutbag. Everyone else in the movie is pretty damn good as well, but I think Dave Bautista is the one who steals the show. The movie has a very interesting concept. The four people turning up at the cabin, they have something weird about them. They're all a little bit sketchy, they're all a little bit scary, they're all carrying weapons, and they say to the couple and the kid, you have to sacrifice one of you to save the world from the apocalypse, to save the world from these different plagues that will be unleashed if you don't make a decision. And at various points they're asked to make the decision. When they don't do it, a plague is unleashed on the earth. Try not to spoil anything here. And the idea that you've got these crazy people, it seems at the beginning of the movie, pop up and say something insane like this, that you have to sacrifice yourself or else it's going to be the end of the world. And the main two characters are trying to dispute that with logic and saying you're just insane, you're just met online. It explores the question of what if these crazy people were telling the truth? What if what they said was actually happening? That's a crazy idea. Pretty cool idea. It's a pretty cool concept. Certainly unique, and that's definitely one of the things M. Night Shyamalan can't be, labeled with down the years. He doesn't do reboots, remakes, and all of that. He's very much original storyteller, whether you love his movies or hate them, or you're in between. I think a lot of people are in between. He's very hit and miss sometimes. Another thing I liked about the movie is that for the majority of the movie, it's a one location movie. And I've mentioned before on the channel that I like these type of movies where a lot of the movie takes place in one location, this point in the cabin obviously, to keep an audience's attention throughout that. When you're just in that one location, you don't have those spectacular visuals left, right and center to drag the attention. You've got to focus on your storytelling, and it's got to be pretty damn strong. So I think the movie did a fairly good job of that overall. But in saying that, I think the pacing wasn't great. I think the movie definitely slowed down in the middle. I think there was a lot that could have been cut out of this movie. I think there was a lot that was just dragged out to stretch the movie to just over an hour and a half. And I do think this movie dragged in places to the point where the movie felt longer than it should have been. It's an hour and a half long movie. To me, it felt like a 2-hour movie. What the movie did have was some very good scenes that had a great build-up of suspense overall. Try not to spoil anything, but there is one scene where Rupert Grint has to be on his knees, and we know what's coming. The camera's zooming in, and slowly we begin to realize his fate, what's going to happen to him. The music slowly starts to swell, the intensity is building, he's sweating, the look in his eyes is getting more and more intense, and the people behind him are starting to walk around behind him and gather their weapons. And then, right at the moment when they're about to swing, or about to get that kill shot, the camera cuts away. And that's one of the problems with the movie. It lacks that intensity that could have taken this movie to a new level. I'm not saying this movie needs blood, guts and gore, but even just that first shot of the weapon to the head could have added a lot to this movie. Like Megan recently, this movie shied away from the violence, and that took the movie down a level because of the age rating, of course. It definitely just watered down the movie overall throughout the movie, because anytime there's going to be any violent shots, they cut away or they cut to outside the cabin, you hear the sound effects. I never liked that myself, but I understand they have to do it for the age rating. But like with most M. Night Shyamalan movies, the story's building and building and building, and you ask yourself, what's the twist? It turns out the twist this time was that everyone was exactly who they said they were. The big problem that the movie had, of course, which I think a lot of people have noticed, is that there's incredible exposition in this one. There's incredible over-explaining things and really treating your audience like idiots in this one. For example, like there's 4 people turn up at the house, predicting the end of the world. It's an easy comparison to compare them to the 4 horsemen. But in the movie, they just have a character at the end go, those people predicted the end of the world. They're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Don't over-explain shit to us. Let us figure out after the movie and then go, oh wow, what an amazing storytelling that they had that thing. Let people find out all these little Easter eggs in your movie. Don't over-explain them. Even to the point in the movie where Rupert Grint's character, there's a question over his identity, whether he's person A or person B, and that they go to great lengths at the end to show you his ID and to like be like, look, he's not the person he said he was. He was actually the other guy. Okay. Didn't add anything. Although I will get the movie props, because I thought at the very end of the movie something was going to happen which would have made the movie terrible. Earlier in the movie, they had the scene with the 2 dads and the kid in the car, and they're singing along to a song, and everybody's happy families. And at the end, they try to do the whole parallel thing where you end up with one of the dads, spoiler alert, and the kid in the car, and the same song comes on the radio. Parallel to the others, they're happy before, they're not happy now, and they just look at each other. And then he turns off the radio, and then she turns the radio back on, then she turns the radio off, and he turns the radio on, and they look at each other. And I was fully expecting them to just burst into song, and that would have been the most ridiculous thing to happen, and I'm very glad it didn't happen. But even still, the scene was a bit weird. It's like they didn't really know what to do at the end of the movie, so they were just like, let's just throw that in. Now, I haven't read the book for this movie, but I've heard from other people that the end of the movie, the latter part of the movie, strays away heavily from the novel. If you've read it, let me know in the comment section below. Kind of weird, because generally the novels know what they're doing. Generally they have a better ending. That's generally the case with all novel to movies. But overall, the movie, it had a lot of good to it. Visually, it was interesting, but it wasn't spectacular. I'm never one to be like, wow, they use anamorphic lenses, because top Hollywood movies use anamorphic lenses now. Maybe the MCU don't, I can't remember if they do, but most big movies they do, so that's not too impressive. You know, pulling focus shouldn't be that impressive. Overall, the movie, it looked fine, but I think that's the thing with a lot of this movie. It was fine. The acting performances, in particular from Dave Bautista, is perhaps the standout part of the movie. The story, I think it left a lot to be desired. I think at the end of the movie, I was disappointed. I just left. I didn't think too much about the movie. It's been a couple of days since I went to go see it, to be honest, and I haven't really thought too much about it, because I think that's the thing with this movie overall. In a couple of years, it's going to be a very forgettable movie. You know, it's going to be a pub quiz question. It's going to be a question on some game show, name a random M. Night Shyamalan movie, and this is going to be a pointless answer, because I don't think the movie had too much memorable about it. But at the same time, it had a level of intrigue to it. It had some good suspense. It had some interesting storytelling, I think, with a rather lame payoff. Shockingly, there's no big twist at the end. There's nothing to write home about at the end, and you know, it was fine. I think that's the best thing I can say about the movie. It was fine. So ultimately, we get down to a rating out of 10 for Knock at the Cabin. As you can see, I'm not too impressed, but I didn't hate it, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. One thing's for certain, it's definitely a lot better than Old. If you haven't seen my review for that, it's right over here. That was a long time ago, though. And if you want to see a more recent review, there's one to check out right over here to check out. See you later.